Praises, esteem, and honor to the Most High Yahweh, by way of Yahushua HaMashiach, John 5 and 39. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me. And you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you that you have not the love of Alahym in you. I come in my Abba's name, and you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one of another, and seek not the honor that come from Alahym only? Do not think that I will accuse you. The Abba, there is one that accused you, even Moses, in whom you trust. For had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how shall you believe my words? So let's go to Job 31. Job 31. Matter of fact, Proverbs 11. Proverbs 11 and 1. I can kill two birds with one stone. A false balance is an abomination to Yahuwah, but a just weight is his delight. When pride comes, then comes shame, but with the lowly is wisdom. The integrity of the upright shall guide them, but the perverseness of transgressors shall destroy them. Be quiet. Thank you. So the first thing we'll look at is balance. It's mozen. This means to scale or to balance. So let's pause from Proverbs 11 and let's look at Leviticus 19 so you can see this in the law for yourself. And then we'll take a trip to Deuteronomy 23 again to look at this in the law. Hey, no, no, sir, no, thank you. Leviticus 19 about 32. Let me see, it's 32, what we need to start at. Pick it up about 35, 19, 35, Leviticus 19 and 35, and then we'll go to Deuteronomy. It said, you shall do no unrighteousness in judgment, in meat yard, and weight, or in measure. Just balances, just weights, a just ephah, and a just hin shall you have. I am Yahuwah your Alahym, which brought you out of the land of Mizraim. Therefore you shall observe all my statutes and all my judgments and do them. See, a lot of people have, and I look what he said, you got to have a just balance and a just weight. You have to have a just mozine, or that's the mean, the aleph, the zayin, and the noon. So the sun has been cut off to give power to the ruach. The ruach had power, but it didn't. You hadn't received that power yet to get eternal life. And we'll go through that just for informational purposes in a moment. Deuteronomy, the 23rd chapter. That's not it. It's 25. That's my fault. Deuteronomy 25. That's my fault. 25 and 13. Say, thou shalt not have in thy bag diverse weights, great and small. Thou shalt not have in thy house diverse measures, a great and a small. But thou shalt have a perfect and just weight. A perfect and just measure shalt thou have, that thy days might be lengthened in the land which Yahuwah the Alahym give thee. So you're supposed to be sitting still and being quiet anyway. Go in your room with that. Go in your room with that. Go in your room with that. I don't want to hear that. So you can be quiet or go in your room. The choice is yours. Mara, stop playing with girl shoes. But for all that do such things and all that do unrighteously are an abomination unto Yahuwah the Alahym. So now we can see why it is very, very important that we have a just weight and a just balance. Now he said having a false weight, let's go look back at Proverbs 11. He said having a false weight is an abomination to Yahuwah, but a just weight is his delight. So what can this mean? Let's take a trip to 2 Timothy chapter 3. Mm-hmm. 2 Timothy chapter 3. 3:1, I suppose. This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unkadash, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasure more than lovers of Alahym, having a form of godliness but denying the power thereof. From such turn away. So there we begin to take a little look at somebody who has a false weight or a false balance. Somebody that wants to pretend as if they sacrifice themselves with Mashiach, or pretend to as if they serve the living Alahym and that they have power with Alahym, but yet in reality they deny such power by pretending to be godly. Let's take ourselves to Matthew 23 real quick. So when we have a just balance and a just weight, we show forth the power of the sacrifice of Mashiach within ourselves. That's what we need to sit back and realize, because you know you're going to have the mean character that you see, and then you're going to have that Aleph or that ox head or that strength, and that Zayin, that tool, and then that Nun or that seed. So we want to be of that seed and have ourselves die with him. We're just going to tie into a word we're going to go into in just a moment. But let's take ourselves to Matthew 23. Don't bring that in here. Take that back. Take it back. Take it back. Take it back. Take it back. Matthew chapter 23. We can start at verse 1. It ain't gonna hurt now. Then spake Yahushua to the multitude and to his disciples, saying, the scribes and Pharisees sit at Moses' seat. All therefore whatsoever they bid you observe, that observe and do. But do not ye after their works, for they say and do not. For they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne, and they lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers. But all their works they do for to be seen of men, and they make broad their phylacteries, and enlarge the borders of their garments, and love the uppermost room at feasts, and the chief seats in the synagogues, and in the greetings in the markets to be called of men, Rabbi, Rabbi. But be not ye called Rabbi, for one is your master, even a Mashiach, and you're all brethren. And call no man your Abba upon the earth, for one is your Abba which is in Shamahim, and neither be called ye masters, for you have one is your master, even Hamashiach. So, hey, go sit down. You join in, and be quiet. And be quiet.
Put it down.
That's not where you got that from. Put it back where you got it from. Now place your posterior over there and be quiet.
Mark, go sit down.
So what are we getting at? Let's look at a couple times where the scribes didn't have a just weight and a just balance. Let's go to John chapter 8 and let's look at an example. And we'll move through these here because these things are the abomination. Y'all detest this type of stuff. Your judgment ought to be just every time. Your scale ought to be just every time. Your weight ought to be just every time because he delights in just balances and just weights. John 8 and 4. 8 and 3. And the scribes and Pharisees brought unto him a woman taken in adultery. When they had set her in the midst, they said unto him, Master, this woman was taken in adultery in the very act. Now Moses in Torah commanded us that we should that such should be stoned. But what say thou? This they said, tempting him, that they may have to accuse him. But Yahushua stooped down with his finger and wrote on the ground as though he heard them not. So of course, in this instance, we know why he didn't respond to them. We know why they were tempting him, because what he wanted, of course y'all should know is what they wanted him to do was to condemn the woman without the man being condemned, so that they could say he had an unjust weight and an unjust balance. They came with a false balance by bringing this woman, but not weighing the man according to the same. Because remember, he said, don't have no unrighteousness in judgment. And that's what we see in here, right here in the law. This is not what they did or what we read in Leviticus. That's what they violated. So when they continued asking him, he lifted up himself and said unto them, he that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her. And again, he stooped down and wrote on the ground. And they, I don't know what to do with that. I don't get it.
Oh, the tank part.
You know, dudes love to condemn the woman and let the man skate. But y'all's not on that. Let's look at another example of that. Let's take ourselves to Matthew chapter 12, and then we'll move along. Come back to Proverbs 11. 12 and 1. At that time, Yahushua went out on the Shabbat through the corn, and his disciples were hungry and began to pluck the ears of the corn and to eat. But when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto him, Behold, thy disciples do that which is not lawful to do upon the Shabbat. But he said unto them, Have you not read what David did? And when he was a hungered, and they that were with him, and how he entered into the house of Alahym, and did not eat shewbread, which was not lawful for him to eat, neither for them which were with him, but only for the priests. Or have you not read in Torah how that on the Shabbat the priests in the temple profane the Shabbat and are blameless? But I say unto you that in this place is one greater than the temple. But have you known what this mean? I would have mercy and not sacrifice, and you would have not condemned the guiltless, for the Son of Man is master even on Shabbat. Keep that in mind with the word guiltless. And also they came at him again, asking him, was it lawful to heal on the Shabbat? And of course he answered them, let them know this. You know, we read last week how it said the people said the scribes didn't teach how Mashiach taught. He taught with authority, he taught with power. And that power that he got is from the willingness to offer himself. Take that back, boy. I just told you, you're hard-headed, son. You're hard-headed. So let's look at something, right? Romans chapter 1 before we go to Proverbs, right? Just a quick hit in Romans. I could quote it, but let's just look at it. Romans 1 and 2. Which he had promised afore by his prophets in the Kadesh scriptures, concerning his son Yahushua HaMashiach, our master, which was made of the seed of David according to the flesh, and declared to be the son of Alahym with power. So, of course, when we looking at balance, we have that noon for son. We got the olive for power, according to the Ruach HaKadosh. We got the meme again right here. So we see the elements of that balance that we looking for. And then by the resurrection from the dead, and there we have the Zayin coming into play for being cut off. So we see the elements of the characters that we're looking at in balance, how we need to get this power. To be able to have the power of the Son in us, we need to do what he told us to do, which is take up our stake and follow him. When we take up our stake and follow him, this is when we'll begin to show this just balance. And we end up showing how we'll be that delight. Because he said, this is my beloved Son in whom I'm well pleased. Say a father chasteneth his son in whom he delighteth. It's the same thing, and this is going to tie into something that we're going to get into this week with discerning. Because we read in Malachi last week that we'll discern between those who serve Alahym and those who serve him not. So those who serve him not will not be willing to offer or sacrifice themselves. So this is how they'll come with that false balance. Because they're going to pretend, that's why they say having a form of godliness, but denying the power of. They're going to look godly, but they're going to deny the power of godliness because they will not be willing to offer and sacrifice themselves like Hamashiach did, which was the power of godliness. Let's go back to Proverbs chapter 11. So we look at that, right? False balance is an abomination to you who adjust weight is a delight. But then we look at verse 3. The integrity of the upright shall guide them. So when we look at integrity, integrity means innocence, and the word is tumah. It's the tau, it's the meme, and it's the hay. So again, we'll begin to look or behold the seal of the Ruach HaKadosh. So when someone has integrity, that's what's going to guide them. That's what's going to lead them. So let's just be remedial for a moment and just read. Matter of fact, no. Psalms 119 and then John 14. So when you are innocent or you have tumah, you see that tile, we're going to have that cross and that water. But then we have the hay and you have the man with the outstretched arms. You see the sacrificing or the showing of a Mashiach. It's revealing to you the covenant of life, which that integrity is, that's the integrity that's going to lead you and guide you. Everybody's not led by that integrity. And we're going to get more into innocence in a moment. So we look at integrity, and the same token, integrity is your innocence. Integrity is what you stand for. You have to maintain your integrity. You have to maintain your innocence. Matter of fact, before we get Psalm 119, come over here to Job chapter 2. 2 and 1. And again, there was a day when the sons of Alahym came to present themselves before Yahuwah, and Hashatan came also among them to present himself before Yahuwah. And Yahuwah said unto Hashatan, from whence come thou? Hashatan answered Yahuwah and said, from going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. Yahuwah said unto Hashatan, hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and upright man, and one that fear Alahym and eschew evil, and he still hold fast his integrity, although thou move me against him to destroy him without cause. Now look at this, right? This is going back to what we read in Job 1 last week, where it say when he lost everything, that he fell down, shaved his head, rent his mantle, worshiped Alahym, and said, naked I came, naked I'll leave, y'all give, y'all take away. He never let his innocence go based on the situation and circumstance that was in front of him. He maintained to the word. So since he maintained to the word, you've seen the seal of the Ruach HaKadosh in him. Let's show another example why I say this. Romans chapter 8. Hey, sit down and be still. Both of you. I don't want to hear nan word. I don't even want to hear you breathe. Romans 8 and 34. Who is he that condemned? Is it Hamashiach that died? Stop playing with the bubble gun. Put it down. Who is he that condemned? Is it Hamashiach that died? Yea, rather, that is risen again. Pardon me for a moment. So, and you know you're wrong. Hey, didn't I say be quiet? Y'all know what time it is. This ain't your first rodeo. This ain't your first ball game. Who is he that condemned? It is a Mashiach that died, yea, rather, that is risen again. Who is even at the right hand of Alahym, who also make intercession for us? Who shall separate us from the love of Mashiach? Shall tribulation, or distress, or persecution, or famine? Hey, sorry, y'all go in y'all room and play. That's what y'all can do. Who shall separate us from the love of Mashiach? Shall tribulation, or distress, or persecution, or famine, or nakedness, or peril, or sword? Well, let's sit back and think about this, right? When we look at in Matthew 3, the Ruach came upon Yahushua HaMashiach, right? So then when we looked at, did anything separate him from his integrity? We know he suffered tribulation. They came and picked him up. We know he suffered persecution because he said they hated him without a cause. It's the same token where you can see, pause, I'll do it like this here. John 13, right? You don't got to get it. Y'all know what's happening. We read it last week. In John 13, it stated that Judas entered Satan entered into Judas for him to go ahead and betray Hamashiach. So we know that in John 15, about verse 24, Hamashiach stated that they hated me without a cause. So we see, and see, that's what I was trying to spare you from. And look what happened to you.
Yeah, hush, because y'all know better.
You see that one coming. So in John 15, right, he makes the statement of what? They hated me without a cause. Yahushua stated that my Alahym, why have you forsaken me? So for the purpose of Mashiach's death and for our redemption, Yah had to move against his son without a cause. He had no reason to destroy him. But in through all of that, he maintained his integrity, and he showed, behold, look, it's the seal of the Ruach, it's the seal of Alahym that is upon him. See, anybody who maintains their integrity or their innocence, they're going to behold that the seal of the covenant of Alahym is upon them. So when you see this here, who shall separate us from the love of Hamashiach? Shall tribulation, or distress, or persecution, or famine, or nakedness, or peril, or sword, as it is written, for thy sake we are killed all the day long. We are counted as sheep for the slaughter. Nay, in these things we are more than conquerors through him that loved us. For I am persuaded that neither death, nor life, nor malachim, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other creature shall be able to separate us from the love of Alahym, which is in Yahushua HaMashiach our Master. There should be nothing. If you gonna maintain, because you have to sit back and look at it, right? People face adverse situations, and some people sin. So therefore, they didn't maintain their integrity. This is why he said, "You caused me to go against this man without cause," and he has not let go of his integrity. He didn't let go of his innocence, or he didn't let go of his obedience. He didn't let it go. Let's come back over here to Job 31 and 1. Job 31 and 1. Oh, that ain't Job. That ain't Job, but that is. Do I want Job 31 and 1? Might as well. I made a covenant with my eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid? For what portion of Alahym is there from above? And what inheritance of the Almighty from on high? So now there's a question being asked. This is Job speaking. He said, what portion of Alahym is there from above? And what is the inheritance of the Almighty on high? What is that portion? You know what that portion is? It says, for what portion of Alahym is there from above? And what inheritance of the Almighty from on high? Now keep in mind that verse 1, it says he made a covenant with his eyes. Why should he think about a woman? That is the Ruach. But he's asking, what's my portion? What portion is that of Alahym? Because he's asking a question. Because we never knew we had a portion. But let's take a look at John 7 and verse 37. And after that, Acts chapter 1. John 7:37. We'll make it John 7:32. I'll just make it 28 because that's how I'm feeling right now. I'll take it 26. But lo, he speak boldly, and they say nothing to him. Do the rulers know that this is the very Hamashiach? Howbeit, we know this man whence he is, but when Hamashiach come, no man know whence he is. So this is the question, right? They say when the Messiah comes, when the anointed one comes, nobody is going to know whence he is or where he comes or who he is. Let's take a pause for the cause for a moment. And let's take a look at John chapter 3. John chapter 3 and verse 6. It says, that which is born of flesh is flesh, and that which is born of Ruach is Ruach. Marvel not that I said unto thee, you must be born again. The wind blow where it list, and thou hear the sound thereof, but cannot tell whence it come and whither it go. So is everyone born of the Ruach. Now, of course, these people make this statement because they know you can't be able to tell when Alahym come and where he go. But they said the Mashiach is right here in our face. Now let's take ourselves back to John chapter 7. Verse 28, then cried Yahushua in the temple as he taught, saying, you both know me, and you know whence I am, and I come not of myself, but he that sent me is true, whom ye know not. But I know him, for I am from him, and he hath sent me. And they sought to take him, but no man laid hands on him because his hour was not yet come. See, that takes us back to what we were reading about in Job, about a man don't go past his time period. It wasn't his time. Many of the people believed on him and said, when a Mashiach come, will he do more miracles than in which this man have done? The Pharisees heard that the people murmured such things concerning him, and the Pharisees and chief priests sent officers to take him. Then said Yahushua unto them, yet a little while I am with you, and then I go unto him that sent me. You shall seek me and shall not find me. And where I am, thither you cannot come. Remember what we read beforehand. What did we read? We read that in Romans 8, that Yahushua sits at the right hand of Alahym. Why is that important? Let's see. Then said the Yahudim among themselves, whither will he go that we shall not find him? And will he go into the dispersed amongst the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? What manner of saying is this, that he said, ye shall seek me and shall not find me, and where I am, thither you cannot come? In the last day, that great day of the feast, Yahushua stood and cried, saying, if any man thirst, let him come unto me and drink. He that believe on me, as the scripture hath said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. But this spake he of the Ruach, which they that believe on him should receive. For the Ruach HaKadosh was not yet given, because that Yahushua was not yet esteemed. Now let's take ourselves over here to Acts chapter 1. So again, it says, what is the inheritance? I'll read it again. I'm going to read it again. For what portion of Alahym is there from above, and what inheritance of the Almighty from on high? What is the portion of Alahym from above? Pause. Let's take it over here to John chapter 4 real quick before we read this Acts 1. Actually, that's John chapter 3. John chapter 3. We'll pick it up at verse 22. We're going to look at John the Baptist, bear witness. John the Baptist going to bear witness. After these things came Yahushua and his disciples into the land of Yehuda, and there he tarried with them and immersed. Yachanan also was immersing in Enon near to Salem, because there was much water there, and they came and were immersed. For Yachanan was not yet cast into prison. Then there arose a question between some of Yachanan's disciples and the Yahudim about purifying. They came unto Yachanan and said unto him, Rabbi, he that was with thee beyond Jordan, to whom thou bear witness, behold, the same immersed, and all men come to him. Yachanan answered and said, a man can receive nothing except to be given from him from Shamahim. He said a man can receive absolutely nothing except to be given from him from on high. Let's take a pause again. Hold John 3 while we hold in John 7. Well, not John 7. We hold in Acts 1. Dang, it was in my head and it just came out. Y'all willing to come back to mine. Job 27. Praise the Lamb. Job 27. Is that what I want? That's not what it is. It's Job 32, I should say. Yeah, it's Job 32, my fault. Job 32 and 7. Job 32 and 7. After Job 32 and 7, James chapter 1. I said they should speak a multitude of years or should teach wisdom, but there's a ruach in a man, and the inspiration of the Almighty give them understanding. Because the portion can only come from on high. A man can't receive anything of Alahym unless Alahym give it. Period. I don't care who you is. I don't care how much you study. I don't care how much you read. If he don't want to give it to you, you're not going to get it. Period. You know what I'm saying? The book said what it says. Inspiration come from him. Now, he give it away freely, as you finna read in James now. He give it away for free. But if you're going to get it, you got to get it from him. So it's a hard life we live in. James chapter 1, verse 17. Well, let's look at this here first. James chapter 1, verse 2. And then we'll work our way to verse 17. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith work patience. But let patience have a perfect work, that you may be perfect and tired, wanting nothing. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of Alahym that give to all men liberally and upbraid not, and it shall be given. And it shall be given him. But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. For he that wavers like a wave of sea driven with the wind and tossed, for let not that man think that he shall receive anything of Yahuwah. A double-minded man is unstable in all his way. See, I think that's why a lot of people don't get nothing from Yah, because when they ask, they don't ask in faith, so he ain't going to give it to you. Just drop down to verse 17. Because inspiration comes from him. So if you're going to step to him and ask him for something, you have to believe that he is and that he'll do it. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above and come down from Abba of lights, with whom is no variableness, neither shadow of turning. Of his own will begat he us with the word of truth, that we should be kind of the first fruits of his creatures. So again, everything that it come from him. That's why he say a man, come on back to John chapter 3, say a man can receive nothing except to be given to him from heaven, from Shamahim, from Alahym, from Yahuwah. Doesn't matter who you think you is, what you think you know, how much you study, how great you might be. You can't get nothing from Alahym. You can't get nothing unless it come from Alahym. That's period. That's any man. No man is exempt from that. It is what it is. Verse 28, ye yourselves bear me witness that I said. See, pause. Ecclesiastes chapter 2 to back that up one time out, because that just came in my head. Ecclesiastes chapter 2. Ecclesiastes chapter 2. We'll just go straight on here to verse 20. We'll start at verse 21, I suppose. Ecclesiastes 2 and 21. For there's a man whose labor is in wisdom and in knowledge and in equity, yet to a man that have not labored therein shall he leave it for his portion. This also is a vanity and great evil. For what have a man all his labor and the vexation of his heart, whereof he labored under the sun? For all his days are sorrows and his travail grief, yet his heart take no rest in the night. This is also vanity. There is nothing better for a man that he should eat and drink, and that he should make his soul enjoy good in his labor. This also I saw, that it was from the hand of Alahym. For who can eat, and who else can hasten hereunto more than I? For Alahym give to a man that is good in his sight wisdom, and knowledge, and joy. But to the sinner he give travail, to gather and to heap up, that he may give to him that is good before Alahym. This is also vanity and vexation of Ruach. It said Alahym give it to those that are good in his sight, whatever he want to give them. See, it's always, I know some people hear that and they be like, man, that don't mean nothing. And you can believe what you wish. It's not my job to convince you. But I know what the words say. Words say, Yah give it to people. And he give it to who he want to give it to, and those that he deemed to be good to him. It don't matter who we think is good and who's not good. It doesn't matter if you like them or if you don't like them. If that's who Yah want to give it to, that's who he want to give it to. And you got to take that up with him. John chapter 3, verse 28 again. Ye yourselves bear witness that I said I am not Hamashiach, but I am sent before him. He that have the bride is the bridegroom. The friend of the bridegroom would stand and hear him rejoice greatly because of the bridegroom's voice. This my joy therefore is fulfilled. He must increase, but I must decrease. He that come from above is above all. He that is of the earth is earthy, and speak of the earth. He that come from Shamahim is above all. That's why he told Nicodemus, if I told you of heavenly things, if I tell you earthly things, you're not going to believe them. So if I tell you of heavenly things, you definitely not going to believe them. Because what is the portion of Alahym? What is the inheritance of the Almighty? You're supposed to be, your portion is his Ruach. Your inheritance is his kingdom. And we'll see that in a moment. He said, what have he seen and heard that he testify, and no man received his testimony? He that received his testimony has said to his seal that Alahym is true. And that takes us again back to that innocence, or that tumah, his integrity. For whom Alahym have sent, speak the words of Alahym, for Alahym give not the Ruach by measure unto him. See, give him a just measure. He just don't hand it to him. It's a just weight. It's a just measure. It's a just meat yard. Our beloved to bend and give all things into his hand. He that believe on the Son have everlasting life. He that believe not on the Son shall not see life, but the wrath of Alahym abide on him. So let's take us back to when Yahushua make the statement that whosoever he sins and all of that. They're like, you can't do nothing without Yah, period. You can't teach the word without Yah. You can't serve Yah without Yah. You can't have faith in Yah without Yah, because he told you no man can come unto the Son except I would draw him. Yah has to be involved in the equation. People don't like to deal with that, because then that means it takes the power out of their hands. Some people want the power in their hands and not give the power and esteem and honor to the person it is due, which is Yahuwah Alahym, by way of in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. So let's take ourselves to where we're going to go. Let's go to Acts chapter 1. But let's go to Luke chapter 12 and then Acts chapter 1. That's one of the reasons why Hamashiach told you to beware the leaven of the scribes and the Pharisees, because it's hypocrisy. Because you can have all the knowledge and wisdom and understanding in the world. But truth, I can't even say that, because if you got understanding, you'll depart from evil. Because the book say he that have understanding depart from evil. Niggas screaming they had got understanding, still sinning. How that possible? They still participating in evil. How that possible? Luke 12 and 32. That's all we want. He say, fear not, little flock, it is your Abba's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Why? Because that's your inheritance. That's your portion from on high. How do we know this your portion from on high? Revelation 3 and 12. You see, we still take it back to what we've been talking about the last couple of weeks. 3 and 12, Revelation. Make it 3 and 11. You can't bet. That's your portion. Your portion is the Ruach. Your inheritance is the kingdom. Don't let nobody take it from you. Behold, I come quickly, and hold that fast which thou hast, that no man take thy crown. Him that overcome will I make a pillar in the temple of my Alahym. He shall go no more out, and I will write upon him the name of my Alahym, and the name of the city of my Alahym, which is New Jerusalem, which come down out of Shamahim from my Alahym, and I will write upon him my new name. Because remember, he said, he that overcome will inherit all things. You'll inherit the kingdom. He just said it's your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. He wants you to inherit it. It's yours to inherit. Inheritance go to who? Firstborn sons. That's who he wants to give it to. But the Ruach HaKadosh is your portion. Let's go to Acts 1 for that. People out here missing out on their portion and missing out on their inheritance. Acts 1 and 3. We'll make it 1 and 1. Ain't gonna hurt nobody. And we go back to Job after that. The former treatise I have made, O Theophilus, of all that Yahushua began both to do and to teach, until the day in which he was taken up, and after that he, through the Ruach HaKadosh, had given commandments unto his apostles whom he had chosen, to whom also he showed himself alive after his passion, by many infallible proofs, being seen of them 40 days, and speaking of the things pertaining to the kingdom of Alahym, and being assembled together with them, commanded them that they should not depart from Jerusalem, but wait for the promise of Abba, which saith he, you have heard of me. For Yachanan truly immersed with water, but you shall be immersed with the Ruach HaKadosh not many days hence. But when they therefore would come together, they asked him, saying, Master, wilt thou this time restore again the kingdom to Yasharal? He said unto them, it is not for you to know the times or the seasons which Abba hath put in his own power, but you shall receive power after that the Ruach HaKadosh has come upon you, and you shall be witnesses unto me both in Jerusalem and all of Yehuda and Samaria, and unto the uttermost part of the earth. So we know that when he went back on high, what occurred? That Ruach was given down. Or now you see what that portion is, because he said he made a covenant with his eyes. You know, the eyes going to be that ayin or experience. He knew Alahym. That take us back to what we read in John. I know him, and you know him not, and I go back unto him. He said, why should I think upon a maid? Why then should I think upon a maid? Well, why did he think upon this maid? Do you know why he think upon this maid? Either one of y'all know why he thought upon this maid? He said, I made a covenant with my eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid? You got an idea of that, sir?
William,
Yes, ma'am.
the way I asked your question.
Anybody have an idea?
That nigga sleep over that one.
Yeah.
Old nigga, man. Nigga, young, old nigga. Let's look at verse 3. Maybe that could tell you something. It's not destruction to the wicked and strange punishment to the workers of iniquity. So he said, I made a covenant with my... Remember, this Job talking. He said, why then should I think upon a maid? Now, I'm guesstimating that the ayin is there for the eye. I didn't look it up. Somebody can look it up and verify it. But we know for the most part, that's the word that's going to be there for eyes for the most part. We know that ayin is to know or to experience. He said, I know him. He said, if I was to say I know him not, I'd be a liar like unto you. Why should I think upon a maid? So if he done made a covenant with his experience, why is he thinking upon a maid? He thinking upon that maid because that maid is, let's see, 2 Corinthians chapter 11. What time is it? I know I ain't going to get there everything. Now I'm at about 41 minutes, which means I know I probably got 20 minutes left at the most. I was 10 minutes on. I got 30 minutes at the most. 2 Corinthians chapter 11. Cause we 40 minutes in. 2 Corinthians 11 and 1. He said, would that you bear with me a little in my folly, and indeed bear with me, for I'm jealous over you with a godly jealousy, for I've espoused you to one husband, that I may present you as a chaste virgin to Hamashiach. Now, this came to my mind. You know, I don't know how some of y'all looked at that video of Gilly the Kid, when he was like, you know, dude say he was going to kill somebody behind his wife. And he said, you a real, what he said, a sucker for love and a real goofy nigga. He said, how you going to kill somebody who your woman let put his icing all on her toaster strudels? You know what I'm saying? But his point was this, and then when he said it and I thought about it, we cheated on y'all plenty, because he said, don't check the pimp, check the woman. When you look in that book, you ain't never see y'all nan time check nan nation for us serving their gods. Not one time. He always came and checked us. Not one time did you see him go get the Philistines. Why you round here got my wife worshiping your God? Because he already knew I didn't make an agreement with the Philistines. I made an agreement with you. You my old lady. So what I'm going to get mad with them when and again, it's just bringing us back to Ezekiel 16. I got you all fly, and you opened your feet to everybody that passed by. You know what I'm saying? I'm dead serious though. Go examine it though. That man never came at the Kenites. He never came at the Philistines, or he never came at the Assyrians or the Babylonians. Nan time for us chasing after their gods. Not one time did he do it. He so came and checked us about it, though. The only reason he checked those people because when we were crying out because they were oppressing us, when you look at the Babylonians, he didn't even smash them on the way out. Well, he let the Persians do it. I take that back. He didn't smash the Persians on our way out, though. He left them standing until he was ready to destroy them. Straight up and down. He didn't come through and kill the Egyptians after we left because we were continually running back to Egypt to worship their gods. I made a covenant with you. So he said, why should he think upon a maid? Because you ain't even a maid at this point. But because, Romans 7, because of this right here. Because we know that Ezekiel 44 tells us that a high priest can only marry a woman who's a maid, or a woman who was a widow who had a priest before. Because if she was a widow and had a priest before, then she would have been the maid. I see you over there, Shirley. I see you over there, Shirley. You're probably over there slobbing too. 7 and 1. Know ye not, brethren, for I speak to them that know Torah, how that Torah have dominion over a man as long as he live. For the woman which have a husband is bound by Torah to her husband so long as he live. But if the husband be dead, she is loose from Torah of her husband. So then while her husband lives, she be married to another man, she be called an adulteress. But if her husband be dead, she is free from that law, so that she is no adulteress, though she be married to another. Wherefore, my brethren, you also become dead to the Torah by the body of a Mashiach, that you should be married to another, even to him who is raised from the dead, that we should bring forth fruit to Alahym. For when we were in the flesh, the motions of sin which were by the law did work in our members, bringing forth fruit unto death. But now we are delivered from the law, that being dead wherein we held, that we should serve in newness of Ruach, and not oldness of letter. Remember, anybody who's in the Mashiach is a new creature. Is this saying you ain't got to keep the law? No. It's telling you that the law says while your husband's alive and you be married to another, you're an adulteress. But if your husband be dead, then you could be married to another and you're not an adulteress. So because you were part of the old covenant, but your emotion of sin was in you and you broke it, therefore you dead, it kills you. Now you are free from that by the new covenant, and now you are bound to a new agreement of which the terms and conditions did not change, but the terms and conditions were set up in a different way for you to be able to accept them. So now he can think upon maid, because now he's going to make you a chaste virgin. He said to present you, that's why he said the washing of the water, that you might be blameless, without spot, wrinkle, or blemish. Nevertheless, back to Job 31. I know a lot of people say he's speaking against the law. Look at Paul. Just pay attention. Know what he's talking about. Don't be so simplistic. Study the law. Understand the law. Know what he's speaking of when he speaks. Verse 4. Doth not he see my ways and count all my steps? Pause, because I asked for Psalms 119 before. He said, you don't see my ways? You don't count my steps? Psalms 119. I mentioned John 14 earlier too. Y'all willing, we'll get it. 119 and 36, if my mind is on point. But we getting old, so he ain't as sharp as he used to be. Yeah, and in 136. Let me see which one it is. I know what to say, but I want you to see it. Gotta find it. Well, we can use verse 35, so nah, I don't want to use verse 35. Verse 35 ain't good enough. Verse 35 ain't good enough. Let's slip my mind at the moment. We got to roll. It says in Psalms 119 in one of these verses, if one of y'all find it, you can post it out there, man, for other people, because it's escaping my mind at this particular moment. He's asked that his steps be ordered in the word. He said, you know the path that I take. Now, we will pause and take a look at 2 Chronicles 30 and 9. He said, you know the path that he take. Does y'all know the path that you take? Is he pleased with the path that you take? Are you taking the path that'll get you to him? That's the stuff you got to ask yourself. A lot of people do a lot of things, but it's what they're doing is they're getting them to Yah. Make sure I got the right spot. What was it, verse 19? That means either. That's definitely not there. Dang, that's not oh yeah, that's not verse 9 neither. I can't recall the verse, but the verse in my head, I used to read it all the time too. But he tell you that the eyes of Yah go to and fro throughout the whole earth to show himself strong on behalf of those whose heart is perfect towards him. His eyes go to and fro throughout the whole earth so he can show himself strong on the behalf of those whose heart is perfect towards him, or tamaim, or complete, or whole, or clean towards him, because he knows the way that you take it. You know, a lot of times we could be in certain situations and positions, and we wondering if Yah is even taking knowledge or heed to what it is that we may suffer and that what we may have to deal with. Let's take ourselves back to John. Well, John 14, you know, he said, you know, he's the way, he's the life, and he's the truth. This much we know. Back to Job 31. Look at verse 5, though. Listen to the next thing he said. We'll read verse 4 again, right? He said, doth he not see my ways and count all my steps? If I've walked with vanity, or if my foot have haste to deceit, let me be weighed in an even balance, that Alahym may know my integrity. So when he stated this, let me be weighed, he said, if I've walked in any vanity, or if my foot have hasted to run to lies, he said, let me be judged in an even balance, that Alahym may know my integrity. So how can we sit back and we can look at this and see if Yahushua was weighed in an even balance? Because we looked in First Peter chapter 2 last week, and we seen that in Mashiach there was no guile found in his mouth, who did no sin, but he committed himself to him who judges righteously. So again, when we see balance, we have Mosin, Meme, Aleph, Zayin, Nun. We see the sun is going to be cut off to give power to the Ruach, or get power from the Ruach. So this is him. He said, let me be weighed in an even balance, that my integrity or my innocence may be known, that it may be revealed that the seal of the Ruach is upon me once I've been weighed, once I've been judged. See, what's an example that we would want to use? When we look at David and Absalom, for an example, when there was a balance to even it out from what David was going through, David would show that his integrity was present. Absalom would show that he was a wicked individual. When we look at, Jacob and Laban, Jacob made the statement that my righteousness will speak for me. And it ended up being shown that it would judge that when he weighed it in the balance, Jacob was justified and Laban was not. When we take it to Hamashiach, and we seen that he was deemed to be a blasphemer, a rabble rouser, if you will, a sinner, if you will, and he was judged against the sins of the people, and his integrity was made manifest. His integrity was made manifest. Let's take a look at that in 1 Peter chapter 3. So that's why you have to sit back and look at it when you get faced in certain situations. Let yet Yah weigh you out in the balance, that your integrity may be known. Your innocence will be shown if you stand firm on the word, which is to maintain your innocence. That no matter what you suffer, that you maintain the love of Mashiach, the love of Alahym. As we discussed last week and have said many times before, you cannot love anybody till you love Yah. How you gonna love your neighbors? You love yourself, and you don't love Yah with all your strength, your heart, and your soul, and your mind. It's gonna be impossible, because you'll do something to your neighbor to offend him, because you don't love the God who told you to love your neighbor. When we're looking at it getting weighed in an even balance, you're looking at Yah exposing hypocrites, liars and pretenders, if you will. 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 14. But, and if you suffer for righteousness' sake, Baruch dar ye, and be not afraid of their terror, neither be troubled. But sanctify Yahuwah Alahym in your hearts, and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asks you reason of the hope that is in you with meekness and fear, having a good conscience, that whereas they speak evil of you as evildoers, that they may be ashamed that falsely accuse your good conduct in a Mashiach. Remember, when we look at Job's friends, they were accusing his behavior. See, hold on. What that was? Come over here to Job 20. Let me show you something real quick. I gotta make sure I got in the right spot. It's in my head too, man. I know it was on 20, but now it escapes me. I think I was just reading this too. Come over to Job 4. Is it Job 4 that I require? It might be Job 4. No. We don't want Job 4. I'll find it by the end of the week. Spotting Job, he said, is there any time that the innocent have been slain? See, people turn around and they look at stuff, right, of what happens to people. And they sit back and they say, you know what? If he were righteous, why would this happen to him? This shouldn't happen to him. He's supposed to be a righteous man. Stuff like this don't happen to righteous men. And that's what Job's friends did. They falsely accused him.
Go put it down.
They falsely accused him of doing things that he wasn't doing
Amen.
because they wanted to sit back, and that's what he and taking at the time that into what they did to Amashia. We know that they came and they brought false witnesses. They said he had destroyed his temple and built it in 3 days. They said he's the son of Alahym. They were speaking evil of him, just like Job's friends were speaking evil of him. But he told them that, but you can see, come back to 1 Peter 3:16, that he told you to have a good conscience, that they speak evil of you as an evildoer, that they may be ashamed that falsely accused. See, hold on, because I got to do this correctly. I don't even feel right if I don't do this correctly. Come on back over here to Job. Let's look at some of this stuff where they accusing him falsely. Job 22. I can't do it like that. It just ain't going to be right. That's just not thorough, no. Job 22:1. Eliphaz the Temanite answered and said, can a man be profitable under Alahym, as he that is wise may be profitable unto himself? Is it any pleasure to the Almighty that thou art righteous? Or is it gain to him that thou make thy ways perfect? That's why Malachi said, talking about what profited us if we serve Alahym solemnly. It's vain, it's for nothing. Will he reprove thee for fear of thee? Will he enter into judgment with thee? Is not thy wickedness great and thy iniquities infinite? Them rough words from your friends. He just told this man his iniquity is great. Know that his wickedness is great and that his iniquities go on forever. For thou hast taken a pledge from thy brother for naught, and stripped the naked of their clothing. Thou hast not given water to the weary to drink. Thou hast withholden bread from the hungry. But as for the mighty man, he had the earth, and the honorable man dwell in it. Thou hast sent widows away, empty. The arms of the fatherless have been broken. Therefore snares are round about thee, and sudden fear trouble thee. Or darkness that thou cannot see, and abundance of waters cover thee. Them strong words right there. Those strong words from a friend to accuse this man for no reason. They had no reason. He had no reason to accuse this man of this nature. None whatsoever. Didn't stop him, though. Let's come over here to Job 18. Do I want Job 18? No, I don't want Job 18. I don't want Job 18. Let's look at Job 11.
Come here, Mark. Come here, Mark.
Job 11.
What's that?
I don't know if I even want Job 11.
Go sit at the table and eat. You too, Sai.
Let's look at Job 8. Yeah, Job 8. Job 8:1. Then answered Bildad the Shuhite and said, how long wilt thou speak these things, and how long shall thy words of thy mouth be like a strong wind? Doth Alahym pervert judgment, or doth the Almighty pervert justice? If thy children have sinned against him, and he cast them away for their transgression, if thou would seek unto Alahym betimes, and make thy supplication to the Almighty, if thou were pure and upright, surely now he would awake for thee, and make the habitation of thy righteousness prosperous. Though thy beginning was small, yet thy latter end should greatly increase. For I inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, prepare thyself to search of their fathers. Look at verse 13 and even more what he said about this man. So, well, I'll keep going. Verse 9. For we are but of yesterday and know nothing, because our days upon their rats are a shadow. Shall they not teach thee and tell thee and utter words out of their heart? Can the rush grow up without the mire, and can the flag grow without water? While it is yet in its greenness and not cut down, it wither before any other herb. So are all the past of all that forget Alahym, and the hypocrite's hope shall perish. Now this man just stated in verse 6, if thou were pure and upright, surely Yah would wake up for you and defend you. This is the same token that when a Mashiach was on the stake, they said, if you be the son of Alahym, come down from the tree. He saved others, he can't save himself. Or when he said, oh, surely he called for Elijah will save him. But when we look at that part, that beginning, see, he prophesied for this man's greatness and didn't even realize it. The same way that the scribes and Pharisees did with a Mashiach. Did they not crown him and mock him and say, you the son of Alahym? That's what they said, your beginning was small, but your latter end will greatly increase. We seen that last week when we looked at Job at the conclusion of everything he went through. His latter end, he was greatly increased. When you look at your beginning being small, you left humbled, you're going to greatly increase because you have an inheritance in heaven that's coming for you. which is New Jerusalem and everything that's a part of that. He said, I inquired, but listen to prayer. He said, I inquire, I pray thee of the former age, prepare thyself to the search of their fathers. He said, can you prepare yourself for the former generation? Can you search through your other father? You don't know nothing. He said, you being a rush growing up without mire, can a flag grow without water? Can you grow without the Ruach HaKodesh? Absolutely not. He said, but while you are in your greenness and you not cut down, it wither before any other herb. And he said, this is what y'all gonna do to every hypocrite and everybody who forget it. Let you prosper and come to your completion and then go ahead and cut you down. Go ahead and cut you down. You prosper in your wickedness. But notice he said for the hypocrite, because he talking about Job. This is somebody who what? They basically trying to say Job had a false balance. That he was pretending to be something that he was not. You heard his other friend, you did this to these people, you did that to these people, because this while this evil befalling you. You got to be wicked. So what do we see with Hamashiach? Remember, this is dealing to having a good conscience. They were speaking evil of him. Let's take a look at Matthew 26. (26 and 57). Mm-hmm. And they that lay hold on Yahushua led him away to Caiaphas the high priest, where the scribes and the elders were assembled. But Peter followed after him unto the high priest's palace, and went in and sat with the servants to see the end. Now the chief priests and elders and all the council sought false witnesses against Yahushua to put him to death, but found none. Yea, though many false witnesses came, yet found they none. And the last came 2 false witnesses, and said, this fellow said, I am able to destroy the temple of Alahym, and to build it in 3 days. The high priest arose and said unto him, answer thou nothing? What is it which these witness against thee? But Yahushua held his shalom, and the high priest answered and said unto him, I adjure thee by the living Alahym, that thou tell us whether thou be Hamashiach, the son of Alahym. This is where he said in meekness and in fear and humility, Yahushua saith unto them, thou hast said, nevertheless I say unto you, hereafter you shall see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power, coming in the clouds of Shamahim. And the high priest rent his clothes, saying, he has spoken blasphemy. What further need have we of witnesses? Behold, now you have heard his blasphemy. He told you right here and right again, coming back to 1 Peter chapter 3. Right here, 1 Peter chapter 3. I'm in chapter 1. That's where the problem is. That he had a good conscience, that they were speaking evil of him, that they would end up being ashamed that accused his good conduct. Job's friends ended up being ashamed at the latter end because they accused his good conduct. The people who accuse of Mashiach going to be shamed at the latter end because they accused. That's why he said, weigh me in the balance, that by integrity might be known. Verse 17, 1 Peter chapter 3. For it is better if the will of Alahym be so, that you suffer for well-doing than for evil-doing. For Mashiach also have once suffered for sins, that the just for the unjust, that he might bring us to Alahym, being put to death in the flesh, but quickened by the Ruach. And there we go again with that balance. Because we're going to have that Zayin for the being put to death in the flesh. We're going to have that mean for being quickened by the Ruach. The mean and the Allah, because it's the power of the Ruach that made him alive. And then, of course, because of the Mashiach part, because we read in the law that Hamashiach abide forever, the noon, therefore with the sun. So let's go back to Job 31 one more time, just to read that last verse, and y'all willing, we'll pick it up again on Shabbat. So listen what he say, right? Let me be weighed in an even balance, that Alahym may know my integrity. So he wanted a just balance between the accusations and his word, so Alahym could see that he was innocent, so that that you could look and behold the seal of Alahym upon him. But you who are willing, we'll pick this up on the Shabbat. So hallelujah for Yahushua and the word. We will cease and desist right now. I'll know at 9 o'clock where we're going to be at on the Shabbat, y'all willing. I appreciate everybody this evening. Bless everybody out the house of y'all name of Yahushua. And yeah, pick this up at a later time.